Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
Hey, what's up, Melina?
What's up, buddy? Evening, my
Hey,
man.
the Drill Partner, will that help you?
We're gonna find out because I'm supposed to do a video on it, and that means I gotta hit a ball on camera. So
I know. Nobody's ever seen you hit a ball.
No, you saw me hit a couple balls, and
Well, just me. And nobody online.
no, I like
No.
it that way. Better that way.
Nobody can clock you that way.
I
I'll tell
feel bad.
everybody your speed. You suck.
There you go. You heard it.
There you
Joey
go.
does not lie. He's way too soft to be a liar.
And you know what else? We got looks like we got a few dozen people in here. Let us know if you can hear us okay. Let us know if you can see us. We just have a few things to talk about today. We did a great interview, I thought, if I do say so myself, with Jeremy Jones earlier. And I thought Jeremy's great to interview.
He
He's
is.
honest. He says what's on his mind, and I really thought that he came with some great answers. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about your interview with Alex that you didn't invite me to, which seems to be happening more and more. And also want to talk about.
You've been on the show back to back. I don't think we've had back to back Joey Ryan appearances since March. Vegas.
If you invite me, I come. If you invite me, I come.
Okay.
And the other thing, I think I want to show off my new technology. In case you haven't seen enough of me and you want to get a second camera angle, I got a second camera angle going on right now. Oh, it says Melina Mike. Oh no! Hold on, this is not good. Hold on.
This is Joey's way of beating his quota for the month. We had
There we
to
go.
talk about Joey coming on X amount of times, so we thought a second camera would go and double punch it.
Yeah, I
Ain't
like
gonna
this
work, my
view
man.
right here. What do you guys think of this?
I'm freaking out, man. I am freaking out.
That's funny.
The one Joey Ryan is enough for me, buddy.
No, I hear you. But hey, seriously, there's a lot going on in the pool world. I'm really excited about it. And that's what we do. We love pool, and we just want to bring you guys our thoughts and some interviews, talk to some great people in the industry. And Mike, you've been doing a great job of that the last few months. I was feeling under the weather for a while, and I'm kind of getting back in stroke, so to speak, with the interviews. So thanks for holding it down. You've been doing a great job.
Thanks, buddy. It's been a lot of fun. We try to get relevant guests, and they're not always inclined to come on. Some are, some aren't, some are. Jeremy is great. He's a straight shooter, and I think what went well for it all was just he was honest, and he knew what was coming. Not because we gave him a heads up, but because he's a sharp guy, and he follows all like the pulse on things when it comes to pool. So it made for a couple of good weeks worth of interviews, but we're not done. I'm there. I may be in the Valley this weekend, and if I am, I'm gonna try to get an interview with Ko and maybe Federer. So we'll see if he's in a better mood.
Yeah, we learned something the last time when we interviewed the Ko brothers. You remember we had a translator, and it seemed like Big Ko knew more English than the translator. We kind of dogged it there, but it was a lot of fun. And one thing I was struck with when we were in Vegas and we got to sit down with those guys is they're very good natured. Seemed to be very kind people. After they were done interviewing with us, they went on the table that was Jamie's table there with
off the
rail, and they started hitting balls, and people were coming up, just random fans wanting autographs and stuff, and they were hitting balls with people. It was really cool. They're just genuine people, and so I hope you do get that interview. I hope you invite me too.
We'll see. We'll see how tonight goes, and then we'll go from there. It's kind of like a trial run. We got to see before we get into commitment.
Yeah.
Don't make it awkward, buddy.
Hey, I want to know from the folks that are tuning in, you guys have been following what Mike's been doing, putting down for a while. You've been following what I've been doing. Who do you guys want to hear from? Who do you want to see us have on the show? Get your requests in now. I see Dr. Wu wants Earl on. We've tried. He's tough. He's a tough fish to land. But maybe with Mosconi coming up, maybe we can kind of tug on Jeremy a little and see if we can get Earl in. Maybe Jeremy will help us out. I don't know.
I don't know, buddy. It's rough. It's gonna be tough to get Earl. He's yeah, he's not a fan of Mike, and probably not a fan of me, I'd imagine. So we'll see.
Well, he
We'll
doesn't know
go.
me, so
Well, you for sure. If you were to go and ask, we'd be a lock, but you're way too shy
all
to go.
right.
That,
No,
But there
no.
was some other guys we were gonna try to interview. So,
Corey Deuel. Mike
Corey
Check wants
Deuel.
Corey Deuel.
Josh Roberts. I got his number a while back, and we were supposed to go and do the interview. And I've been wanting to do it for quite a while, man.
Yeah, and especially with what Jeremy said today, I didn't realize how close Josh was to making the
Me
Moscone Cup.
either.
But he was a finalist, and he was right there. And Jeremy had some great things to say about Josh. I'm a huge fan of Josh. I tell you what, if you've never heard Josh Roberts commentate, that's a treat right there. Guy knows pool inside and out, especially when it comes to one pocket. And so when I heard today that he was in the running, that would have been a great pick.
1,000% agree with you. I was very taken back that was one of the guys who was on his short list, to be honest with you. Jeremy's from Texas. He sees Josh every year at the Texas Open, do great in the 9-ball. He had a bit of a comparison when it came to Josh as it pertains to Federer, and I gotten some messages about it. And I think what people missed was what he meant by that was how great of a year that he had outside of like the major events. So like these regional type events that Federer's been, robbing here in the States for the last 9 months. That was the comparison that he was making to Josh, and a lot of people agree. I think he's a great player, and I'm right there with you. For me, it was just not seeing him on that stage was really kind of tough. But I mean, he's a great 9-ball player.
Yeah, Bang Time Pool. He wants to see Mike DeShane on. I don't know about that. It might be a little tricky because he had kind of made a comeback a little bit. He came to one of the Predator events, and
he went to like one tournament.
upset some people. I think he got escorted out by security. But in all honesty, he's an interesting guy because I found that when I talked to him down in Tucson at that event, I mean, he's got a lot of charisma. He's kind of fun to talk to, fun to be around. But when he gets going down like that dark place, I mean, he'll just, he'll ride the tournament director. He'll get upset about things, and it kind of goes south quickly. But otherwise, not really a bad guy to talk to. Chris Reinhold, Michael Hoffman recommends. Let's see, Alan Hopkins. Hey, Alan Hopkins, Melina. You should get him on.
Yeah, we could try. Yeah.
Yeah. Donnie Mills. Mike Check wants to see Donnie Mills on. Think we can make that happen.
We got Federer in the chat. Federer doesn't know, but he's coming on the show if I go down to the valley and put a microphone in front of him. So he's not aware he'll be on the show, but he will be when I show up there in person.
Well, he's a friend of the program. He's always tuning in. We appreciate that, Federer.
We appreciate a lot of these guys. Like Chris has been on before. I think Chris is a great interview. He's very lighthearted and easy to talk to. No BS kind of kid. I like him. Very straight shooter. Like from a personality standpoint.
Jason Shaw, Sky Woodward, all these floating in. These are all great recommendations. Love to have them back on. They've all been on before. James Brinson says, bring the Rocket on. He's starting a new game. Well, maybe Rodney's always fun to have on. He's just full of personality. Love to have him on. Andrew Cleary, I don't know if he'll come on.
might not work out over here, buddy.
Yeah. I don't think I can message him. But so Mike, let's talk about, I know you were following the International very closely. Let's talk about some of the storylines from the International. What an event. I know there were some complaints about just the timing of some of the matches and the space between tables and how the racking was going, things like that. But otherwise, I mean, world-class event, world-class players, a lot of great pool. What are your takeaways from that event?
No, I think just the class of the field was the first thing. It was the best players from all around the world, minus China. I enjoyed the new format. It's funny because Jason had actually went online criticizing, the format vocally, which he's not afraid to do. Jason is a no BS kind of guy, and he ends up going undefeated and snapping the whole thing off. So it was pretty ironic. But it was really just filled with a ton of storylines. Obviously, everything leading into the week was Federer. Federer was the talk of the pool world, and he followed that up with this week's performance, not just playing 10 ball, but also playing 9 ball. The dream matchup that I think we all wanted to see in that final was robbed of us, but we were also treated to a really great Polish player, kind of making more of his presence known on the big stage. And if you don't know the name Wiktor Zielinski, you're going to know it more and more often because the kid is just a killer.
Yeah, we interviewed him out in Vegas after he snapped off. What was that? He snapped. He didn't
diamond.
even. Yeah, the diamond 10 ball out there, and I was pretty impressed by his maturity. Even though he's very young, it seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's really committed to his game and improving. And I had a great time talking to him. I think he's going to be. We've talked about it. Who from that Polish contingent, right? They have a half a dozen or more players that all play world-class level pool, but who is going to jump out from that group and be the standout and, be the Shane Van Boening of Poland or be the Josh Filler of Poland? And I think it's Wiktor, no doubt about it. I mean, he's just got a lot of upside.
Well, it's easy to say that now, you donkey, after he was in a final of back-to-back events, the 14.1 and the international. I've been talking about the kid being one of the best 9 ball players on earth for the last 6 months now. I mean, he's
snapping off Euro tours. But you know what? It's crazy because he's one of these guys, and this is the thing about this sport that we love. You can walk around and look at somebody with a cue case on their shoulder and you can kind of size them up and you think, oh, I probably play better than that guy or whatever. If you watch him, even not just carrying his cue case, but hitting a few balls, you'd probably look at him and say, he probably doesn't play that good. He doesn't look like...
Flip the coin.
I know.
Is what you would say, because he's got an awkward approach.
Right? Yeah. He does not look like a world-class player when he's starting to hit balls. He looks like some guy who maybe was, like an APA 7 just recently and starts to fire balls in. And, oh yeah, he's on the upswing. And then you sit down and really look at him and the guy's a killer.
No, he really is. He's unorthodox when it comes to how he approaches the table and his pre-shot routine, if you can call it that. He's very energetic.
The anti-power.
Yeah, without a doubt. But it was a really big compliment coming from Alex when we had him on. He said when people size up his game, they don't think very much of it, but what they don't like, that he's just a pure pocketer of the balls, and he is. But what he also said about Wiktor was that there's a lot going on here. He's just able to go and process it because he had him over at the Hague 5, has worked with the kid, and it shows off, man. His going second in the 14.1 is one thing. But following that up with a finals appearance, and he was in it with Jason, maybe back and forth through about 2/3 of that match. The kid's just got the world of talent, the world of upside. Not to say anything that Conrad or who am I missing? Oh God, this Fortuński, can't go and snap off a major, but this kid's really coming at.
Or, I mean,
people talk about Wojciech being a world 10 ball champion, but aside from that, we really haven't seen him do a whole lot. And I mean, I don't want to discredit, he's a world champion, so all the respect in the world, but Wiktor's having a lot more consistency, it seems like. I like that kid's future, man. Give me a team with him and Federer and Filler, guys who are just 23 and under, of Europeans. He's close to being at the top of that list, maybe number 3.
He's for sure going to have to earn it, though. He's going to have to get there. I think his first selection will have to be on
definitely
point. He's not going to be a wild card, I don't believe, because you see, even this year with the US's picks, they're not going with rookies. They want to go with someone established, even with David.
I think they were close to going with the rookie in Shane Wolford. I think he was at the top of that short list to make Team USA. I think it was real close.
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably expected Shane. And the way he started out last year, I think he might have been in the driver's seat for one of those positions. But, at the end of the day, you're competing against a legend of the game. You're competing against, the Earl Strickland for that last spot. And I think there was just so much upside in Jeremy's mind for what Earl could bring to the table, that maybe Shane's not quite there yet. Right? If Earl catches a gear and starts pocketing balls like we know he can do, it could turn the whole complexion of it around, right? He could have Europe in their seats and make them start doubting themselves. I think that's really the key there. I think Earl can bring a dimension that, some of these younger players haven't really hit that level yet in terms of like just their top gear.
He's got that intimidation factor for sure. Or
Yeah.
if nothing else, nobody wants to be the guy to lose to the old man. None of those Europeans want to lose on that stage in Las Vegas against Earl the Senile Strickland. They don't. I'm just saying they don't want to lose to that guy because it'd be embarrassing. You got five number ones on Team Europe who are the epitome of 9-ball supremacy. Nobody wants to lose to Earl Strickland. I guarantee you.
We're getting requests to have him on the show, and here you are insulting the guy. Please, let's keep it clean.
Well, he's a little old. Well, he's around your age, ain't he?
Come on. That's hurtful.
Welcome back, buddy.
Hey, so we talked to Jeremy about this a little bit, but how big of a factor do you think it was, Earl's performance in the international?
I mean, I think that was a big reason why he held off making a pick after the U.S. Open, was to go and clock Earl, because we haven't seen him go and play pool at all this last year. I think there's a lot of.
Is that fair?
To who?
To the rest of the players. I mean, is it fair that event?
Is it fair that nobody really stood out above and beyond for the last 9 months?
I get it, but this is the first ranking event for next year's Mosconi. Is it fair to really double dip that and say, well, we're gonna view how he plays in this event, and if he does well, we're gonna select him?
Well, I don't think nobody needs their hand held when it comes to something like that anyway. And nor do I think that Jeremy owed it to anyone to kind of give that explanation. I loved what he said when we were interviewing him, when he was talking about if guys are going and playing tournaments to get Mosconi Cup points, that's not what you should be playing for. Because I guarantee you, a lot of those Europeans, that's not what they're playing for. They're playing to win. They're playing to go and snap that event off. Now, those other things that come along with it, of course, and that's always going to be in the back of their mind. But they expect to go and win first and foremost. I don't think Josh or Albin or Jason, any of these guys, go and play for the sake of going and getting points to stay relative. I think they're killers, man. They want to go and rip each other's throats off.
Well, I mean, that's a big difference between the two teams, right? Like, you have a whole team of Europe that's capable of snapping off a top level event. And even with the team that the U.S. assembled,
they all have this year. Every single one of them. Josh, Jason, all of them now, with Jason winning this
and
event.
with the team the U.S. has assembled, I like this team. Out of what we have in the United States, I like it. And I think we got a puncher's chance. But if you look at it, how many of those players are going to snap off a world-class event? 2. Right? Typically. I don't think Oscar's in a position where he's going to snap off a world championship. Tyler, not yet. And Earl, not anymore. Would you agree with that?
Well,
yeah, I'm just trying to be real. Don't be soft on me.
Don't.
I know we're talking about your buddies here.
I think if you want to just break down games, right? I mean, we haven't seen Sky win anything since Derby City Classic, right? Obviously, Shane's a world champion this year. We've seen what he can do over and over again. Multiple-time U.S. Open winner. You can't argue resumes and results. There is no comparison. But like you said, they got a puncher's chance, and I like the grit that this team has. If you're gonna break down all these American players, Tyler's probably, and I mean this with all due respect, probably the softest out of all of them. But oh, by the way, he's the guy who just took down Federer. He's the guy who should have beaten Josh, who was the gold medalist in the World Games. Should have beaten him. Probably should have beaten him at the U.S. Open as well. The guy just wins in he stays competitive to give himself a shot in these big spots. He breaks the ball very well. He plays great under those conditions. And if that's going to be the quote unquote weakest part of the team, I like that, man.
I do too.
You know,
Solid fundamentals.
yeah.
And what do you need when the heat is
And
on?
he can compete with any of them, any one of
When
those 5 guys.
when the heat is on, you need solid fundamentals, right? When your heart's beating fast, when you're nervous and you're a little shaky, if your fundamentals are solid, you're going to hold up better than the guy whose fundamentals aren't as solid. And that's Tyler. Tyler has
Yeah,
super
but that could
solid
also that's also been a critique of Tyler's as well. Criticism, of his game was that he's too focused on the process versus having the feel in those moments, right? And we've seen him kind of shake a little bit in bigger spots, but you've seen maturity of his game over the year,
Yeah,
especially this year.
I'm expecting big things from him because one thing I was impressed with when I interviewed him on Pool Player Podcast was just how hard he works and how dedicated he is to getting better. And when you have something like this in place, you know that there's a month to prepare for this event or 3.5 weeks, whatever that is.
Right.
Uh, he's someone who is going to put in as many hours as anyone else on this
Without a
team to
doubt.
prepare. There's no question.
No, you're not going to question his work ethic. Go ask Shane about Tyler's work ethic, and Shane's renowned for being one of the hardest workers in pool. And he gives respect where respect's due, and Tyler's earned that by putting in the work. And he's been in pretty decent spots, and I think that's what Jeremy was talking about whenever he broke down Tyler a little bit, earlier this afternoon. And he may not have came away with wins, but there was steps, and I think that's all part of someone's career. I like him I like him from a betting standpoint, getting odds against any one of these guys, especially in a race to 5. That's the biggest thing. And not just that, but you like guys who are free stroking. And if they can kind of take on that underdog role, us against the world mentality, because you got five unbelievable players from Team Europe. But that also comes with expectations. And it's one thing to have tournament pressure, which I think the Europeans, you can't argue, are great there. But it's another thing to go and handle pressure, like real pressure. And those
Las
American
Vegas
fans,
pressure. Yeah.
Mosconi Cup. I want the guys who have gambled more, to be honest with you.
They're going to be down on a ball and they're going to be thinking Melina Mike and Joey Ryan are up there in the stands. And after this, they're going to be on dogging it talking about this shot. So I better bear down and make it. In all seriousness, Mike, Team Europe, let's start with Team Europe. Which player do you think has the most pressure on them?
I mean, before a week ago, I would say Francisco. Now it's all David. Every
100%.
ball that dude misses, the entire world in that room is gonna let him know over and over and over and over again. I mean, if the guy shows a little crack, they're just gonna be relentless on him. I can already see, and it's not his fault, but you got 15,000 guaranteed reasons why you can go and deal with it, and you got a good chance of getting 30,000 reasons why it's okay for you to go and have to deal with all that BS, and that comes with it. But 1,000%, it's gonna be David. The guy who probably had the least accomplished year outside of David and Jason just is coming off a major win now.
Yeah. It's like a nightmare for the U.S. that Jason's getting hot right now. It's like, we would have loved to see him go 2-0 and have a lot of question marks about him going into the Mosconi Cup, but it just didn't happen that way. He won the event. And so now everybody's going to be like, oh man, now Jason's coming in on fire. But I agree with you. I think David knows this right now. Like there's no secret to this. He knows that he was an underdog pick. And when I say that, I mean that with all due respect. The guy's a world-class player and he's an amazing talent, but he's not Fedor Gorst. And when he was chosen over Fedor, immediately that thought had to cross his mind, like, man, I better not dog it. That's what I would have been thinking, right? Because anything that comes up during the course of this event where he makes a poor decision or he executes poorly or whatever, you're right. People are going to be second, third guessing that to the nth degree. And same with Alex. They're going to be saying, man, Alex should have picked Fedor. So I think one key to the United States, and if it plays out this way, if they can get a matchup that's favorable and they can put the heat on David early, I mean, that's a
Well,
scenario where you could see the guy
look,
melt down.
you want to talk about pressure and David? I went back and watched that match with Jeremy, the famous one last year, especially that last rack in particular. When it was Hill and they had that epic safety battle. It'll live like in Mosconi infamy. There was, as great as David may have played in that event, there were holes there. I promise you. If you go back and watch it, you'll see it. And that's really like the kind of pressure I think he's going to be up against. That like hill type pressure, but from the jump, because everybody is going to let him know. And I don't think it's any secret. And outside of that, I probably would have said Francisco only because he's a quote unquote rookie. But who's playing better 9-ball than that guy is right now? It's gonna be interesting because the American fans are real upset that Federer didn't make it on that team, and they feel that he was owed that spot. And I think they're gonna let him know every step that he goes and takes inside that room. So
it's kind of ironic, right? It's kind of ironic that it's all about Team Europe. They can do whatever they want, but you're right. I think the American fans feel slighted that Federer didn't get picked. It shows how well received he is in the United States and how many friends and fans he has here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, from a fan standpoint, there's no other European that's moved the needle here in the States like Federer, and it's not close. When me and Pinozo and Laley were on with Alex. So yeah, whenever we were on before the show started, we were kind of talking about it, and the comparison that Alex made was Efren. That's the only player that has really made that kind of wave here in the States, not just from a performance standpoint, but as far as like getting fans. And I'll be perfectly honest, like you haven't seen Federer play great in Matchroom Arena. You haven't. Nobody can go and say that. I think he'll go and agree to that. But he wanted that chance, and he earned that chance for my money.
Well, last time we saw him in Mosconi, I want to say first time he was in Mosconi, right? I want to say that he started kind of slow, but by the end of the event, he was clicking on all cylinders. So you can't even throw that at him and say inexperienced.
People don't consider that really Mosconi experience because there's no fans there. And I think that's going to be the knock. But I think he did well enough to earn a chance to be out there, and I had a chance to message Federer a little bit over the last week or so, and it was pretty cool to see him go from having a chip on his shoulder to backing it up day after day after day. And it was really pretty poetic, the way that it all kind of came together, at least in the Bigfoot, taking European scalps with him, round by round with authority, mind you. It wasn't just that he was winning; it was the matter in which that he was winning.
When I saw that opening match with him and David, I was like, you could not write this any better.
That was the first thing that my mind went to when I seen the bracket.
It was like a perfect scripting of it, that he would play David in the first round. And then I'm like, man, I bet you he's going to try to trounce him. And sure enough, what was it, 11-1?
11-1, yeah. Or 10.
Crazy.
I think it went
10-1.
10-1. Yeah, 10-1.
Yeah, I think there's race to 10 in that event. And so then he continues to run, plays well in the 9-ball. Did he run out of gas, you think, at the end? I mean, it had to be an emotional week for him. It had to be a lot of pool playing. You think he ran out of gas?
For sure, it's an emotional week for him. I mean, the kid's 22. I wouldn't put a whole lot when it comes to fatigue, just because he's built for this. And not only that, but mainly, I don't want to discredit what Victor did. They interviewed Victor leading into that match with Federer, and he pretty much said, like, I'm not intimidated by anyone, and I'm not scared to play anyone. And he backed it up. And I think it was more telling of how that kid handled that moment. We as fans of pool wanted to see that, Federer versus Shaw matchup. There was a lot of shit talking online, kind of
irrelevant.
kind of needling the kid a little bit and playing up to that, Matchroom hype but I wanted to see it without a doubt. I wanted to see that matchup because I wanted to see Federer give it to Jason playing 9-ball and then see what he says. We will, we'll never know. But it was still just an epic final, and really my hats off to Jason for when Jason has moments, the dude's just ruthless.
He's on another planet.
Just ruthless, man. He comes with it, and it big shots. I think there was a game, I want to say it was right around like 7-6. Jason got hooked, I want to say like twice, man. And then just comes with a clutch jump shot, and then of course runs out. But it was just those big spots, man, that he delivers,
Yeah, once he gets on a roll, I think he's the kind of player that really needs to get on a roll. But when you see it, usually in these bigger events, right, where he can get some matches under his belt and start building some momentum, he goes from being like someone who you think, oh, maybe he's vulnerable, maybe he won't get there, to like, I don't think anybody's going to beat this guy. I mean, he just gets in dead punch, definition of dead punch. And so that's what we saw there. Here's an interesting question from Paco. He, let's see.
Nobody's ever said that, by the way, in life. No one's
I'm
ever
telling
said.
You, it's an interesting question.
This is an interesting question followed by from Paco.
let's reverse it. Let's turn it around. Because last year, U.S. travels to UK, and the issue with Strickland, where I guess he contact traced, was on a plane with somebody who had COVID, yada yada, didn't get to compete. Jeremy jumps in. What happens if that happens to Team Europe? I got a 7-year-old right now. It's got 102 fever. I know like 5 kids that are their friends and stuff that are all sick. We are in the cold and flu season. And what happens if someone from Europe is not able to make it? Who would step in that spot?
I mean, it'd have to be someone who's already here in the States. And I think a lot of these guys are going to be, call me crazy, but it might actually be Federer. If something if something were to happen, I mean, listen, number one, he's European. Number two, there's 100% chance that he's going to be here in the States already, right? Because and this is another thing that people don't realize, and I don't know if this is the time or the place to go and bring this up. The Mosconi Cup will be in the UK next year. What happened this year is not just robbing Federer of his chance to go and play. There's 100% certainty that he will not play in next year's Mosconi Cup because he can't travel outside the States right now, pending his green card and that whole process.
Oh yeah.
So that this was his year that he can go and play, and the powers that be knew this. They're very aware of his limited travel ability outside of the United States right now. So that's kind of what makes this whole thing even worse. But it would be someone who's here in the States.
Something sinister?
No. I mean, I think that
I haven't got my media pass yet, so
I don't think we're gonna get it anyway, buddy. Don't worry about it. We got to buy tickets. I don't think that. I think they stood by what their agenda was, personally. And I mean Matchroom, Emily. I think they pushed that decision, and Alex followed orders. That's his job. I get it. No one's in his spot other than himself. So all the respect in the world. He did what he had to do, but it is kind of hypocritical, especially considering that Earl was the pick announced for Team USA.
Right. It's like the reasoning for not selecting Federer for Europe is exactly the opposite
it didn't make
Earl.
A difference when it came to Earl.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter one bit when it came to Earl. So, and that's obvious and that's fair. And listen, people aren't dumb. You got to go and take the heat if you're going to be, making decisions like that. If they were to go and say, I'm taking David just based off of, big time Mosconi experience, 1,000%. You can't argue with that because the guy's been in big moments and recently.
Jim Monday brings up a point here. Maybe it's because he's Russian. This is going to be broadcast all throughout the world, and there is that sentiment. There's a lot of turmoil about the fact that Russia is the aggressor in the conflict, and maybe Matchroom didn't want to deal with that.
I mean, I think if that's the position you want to take, that's well within your right. It's their own choice to be had. But like just own it. And I think maybe people would be probably still criticizing, but maybe from a different angle. I mean, we'll never know at this point. Is it fair to the kid or not? It's not my place to go and say. But the kids made a lot of money this year. That aside, he wanted to go represent Team Europe. It was zero to do with the money being taken away from him. Yeah. It was all to do with, I want to go and be in that spot. I want to get that experience. I want to go and have a chance to, fight for Team Europe and go play in Vegas, man. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot to talk about. We've been talking about it for a week now, but it is a lot to talk about, a lot to think about. I think the banter about it is, someone pointed out, I don't know what they were talking about in the chat, but they said this is not good for the game. But I think this kind of stuff is good for the game, right? You got a whole contingent of people that were upset about Federer not being chosen and they want him in it, and then you got a whole bunch of people like kind of making an argument for why David was a better choice. And, the fact that we're talking about it, I think, is a good thing for pool, right? It gets people excited. It gets people wanting to watch it. And people are going to be eyeing everything that David does. They're going to be on the edge of their seat. And there's going to be people rooting for him to dog it. Not just the American fans, but like, hey, we want to.
Well, I don't think any European fans are going to root for him to go and dog it.
What about Christina Scotch?
Well, you think she'll be there? I don't think they'll be there. They wouldn't have any reason
I
think
to be she'll
there.
root against them.
No,
it's.
I don't think they take it personally like that.
No.
And
I'm just messing.
From talking with Federer over the week, he was very clear. Like, he's like, man, it's really unfair, the criticism that David's gotten throughout all this, and it is, and that was legitimately one of the responses that he had to all this, and that's the kind of guy that he is as well, But he went out there with a chip on his shoulder. He backed it up.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's shift gears now. Let's talk about, there's a big money match this week. I think it's on Omega. It's going to be down in the down in South Texas, right? Federer Gorst versus Big Copigny. What are you thinking about this matchup, Mike?
And the last time we saw Federer play this format, we saw him destroy Carlo.
It's crazy.
They're playing a race to 60 over 2 days. I like that. It's enough pull for me to stay engaged from the beginning, even though, because that race to 120 is just brutal, especially playing that way.
Even as a fan of pool, it's tough to watch that long.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I think they know as well. Plus, I think they're just from travel restrictions. But listen, Co's a world champion. From when we've seen Co the very first time, I think it was this year, to now, you've seen his game continue to evolve. You saw him snap off the Asian event, the Asian Open, a little bit different format. I think they were playing still one on the spot with a template, but we've seen his matchroom progression running deep at the International with the same break format. We've really seen him kind of come into the old Co, the 2015 Co, or maybe better, but Federer's on a different level right now. At least if you're going to say you're on Federer's level, then you're going to have to go and earn it. I think he's at the top of the mountain. I think a lot of people agree, including Alex Laley.
So Jim Hopkins in the chat has Federer -10. You think that's a good line?
No, I think it's a line that people are betting, to be honest with you. When you beat Carlo the way you do, that's the line. So it's.
Were you surprised by that outcome with Carlo?
It was weird. Like, I was there in Louisville, I think, for the last day, and or maybe it was second to last day and the last day. I don't remember. Anyway, his break never really had any kind of consistency, and when you're playing that format, if you don't have any kind of consistency with that break, then you lose all your confidence, right? like what do people say about Shane, right? It's his ability to put packages together. But if you don't have that break in your back pocket, then all that confidence kind of goes by the wayside. You know,
Yeah.
I can't.
Better.
He's a good salesman, if nothing else. He likes his side. The kid's got a lot of confidence, and rightfully so. Um, I don't know what we're gonna see from Ko playing that format. I know what we've seen when we've had refs racking the balls. When you're playing a gambling match, you got to rack the balls for yourself. You got to have the stamina to go and play a long race. There's a lot of other factors. He's going to be outside his comfort zone. Federer kind of has been living in that environment for the last year.
I mean, what can you do for any player right now playing Federer to kind of slow him down? Is there any tactics that Ko could try
Whip
to
his ass
employ?
with the butt of a cue. That's what you can do. Go hit him upside the head. I think that's your best. I think that might be your best shot.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I would not want. I wouldn't. Yeah, I just can't imagine betting against Federer in this match. But I guess if people are establishing a line at -10, that changes some things, right?
I mean, that's 10 going to 60. Imagine
I
if
know.
they're playing to 120, that means you're saying he's a 20 game dog, 20 games in the wire. I mean, that's real strong. The problem is that, like, by that third day, you're already worn out. Well, now all you got is just 2 days. So it's a little different even from like a stamina standpoint, But
Yeah.
I like the race. Like I said, I'm going to try to be down there. We'll see.
Yeah. So what else we got? We got another match coming up. I don't think we
What
talked
match?
much about this. T-Rex and SVB. When are they playing?
They should be playing, I think, right after the Mosconi Cup, as a matter of fact, out there at Griff's in Vegas.
What do you like in that one? That's an
I don't
interesting
know.
one because it's like Shane. If Shane does anything for a week, if he plays one pocket for a week, he's probably in the top 5 in the world. But like we know he hates it. So how much time is he going to dedicate to kind of getting in one pocket stroke, which, as you know, is completely different from playing rotation pool, and end up facing one of the most creative, dangerous one pocket players in the world?
A lot of ifs, a lot of what ifs, a lot of unknowns. We obviously saw Shane beat Chip in Harlingen, as a matter of fact, that same venue where Ko's going to go in as a favorite. I'm sorry, Federer's going to go in as a favorite against Ko. I don't know, man.
Wait a minute. Let me stop you. Can we talk about that real quick? Because, I don't know that many people in this country has ever gotten down to that part of the world, that part of the U.S., but yet now we're having all of these matches down there, these matchups. Tell us about the room, like what's going on down there? What's the big deal now about Harlingen?
Oh, it's Benito Garcia with the Rocking Queue. They got a real nice room. It's brand new. A lot of diamond bar boxes, but they bring in a 9-footer for these big events. They got a very good pool community down there. And from the food to the aesthetic, the staff, I mean, you name it, it's a really awesome place. Plus, you're right by South Padre Island. I mean, right now it ain't really beach season, but I'm looking forward to March. I'll put it like that. It's a really great part of the country. Amazing food. So much culture down there. Everyone's super welcoming, and they just love pool. So they're willing to put up some money to get these guys down there, and bring in world-class players down to South Texas. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, it really is. It's great.
All right, go back to your breakdown of this matchup.
What Tony's going to show up? Like, if the big money is bet like they're saying it is, and I'm pretty certain that it is.
How much are we talking?
I think, like, last I heard was like 160.
What?
Yeah.
In
a
the
lot
middle.
of people like Shane. A lot of people like Tony. Tony's known to bet it up. He's coming off a big loss when it comes to Alex. Mentally, you never know what you're going to get from Tony. You don't know what Tony is going to show up. He can be a little, hit or miss, hot or cold. I think you can get Tony to check out a little bit, although he did show some fight that second day or that third day when it came to Alex. But Shane is a punisher. Like, Shane will go and hit you over and over and over. Shane will see a shot that lays up good, and he's going to fire at it. I think he's going to want to hit Tony in the mouth over and over again. It's that offensive firepower, and if Tony can move some, put Shane in some tough spots, they're not playing on tight equipment, which favors Shane. But if Tony can have some patience, then you really got to like Tony.
Yeah,
you really got to like Tony.
Slow it down, lock him up, not as aggressive.
The big man's you're not gonna outrun Shane. You're just not. You're gonna have to be a little bit more old school.
Yeah.
And Tony, you saw it against that matchup with Filler. You've seen it in matchups against Chip. You've seen Tony over and over again, and that's part of why people love Tony and his kind of fast and loose way of playing the game. But if you're gonna grind and you want to slow down a shooter, you're gonna have to really grind. I would like to go and see if somehow, whether Tony wins or loses, the next matchup is coming up, ought to be Federer and Tony playing some one pocket. I don't think there's any more places to go except playing that kid.
How about Federer and Shane playing one pocket?
Yeah, I don't think you'll see it.
That's kind of fun. I think one of the cool parts about this matchup is just the differences in style, the differences in preference of game, right? Shane and Tony, it's a very intriguing matchup for me. I think for me, I'm going to enjoy that more than two one pocket specialists playing each other. When we do the one pocket power rankings, which by the way, we're due for.
We haven't done in forever.
Yeah, and there's been a lot
of for 6 months. Do you want me to run it by you some?
Yeah. There's been a lot of things. There's been a lot of shakeups in the one pocket world. Like you said, Chip losing to Shane. There's been a lot of stuff going on. So I think this match is interesting for the landscape of one pocket in the U.S. We speculated before that if Shane really did want to commit some time to one pocket, that he'd be one of the top players in the country, maybe the world. But
it's a big if. That's a big if.
Yeah, and we know the game doesn't really interest him much, but suppose he does prepare for this and he goes down there and he just blows Tony's doors off. I mean, Tony was number 3 on our last list.
Okay, hold on. I want to just address Paco there in the chat because he's saying Tony called him out. Tony never really called out Shane. The money called them out. I was real in the know when it came to how that match was evolving from the moment I left the Valley after interviewing Shane when he was playing Chip. Because I asked Shane point blank, would he want to play any of these guys up top? And there was only 2 of them. It's really only Alex and Tony. That's it. Because there's no more Dennis. And the matchup with Federer, listen, it ain't going to happen. So Tony was the first guy, obviously, because we know Tony gets weight from Alex. So that would be the natural step. There's good money involved when it comes to them getting guaranteed money. There's good money involved when it comes to backers wanting to put money in the middle to see it happen and willing to put up a significant amount of money to go and make that happen. So with some talking and smoothing people over, they made it happen. And then Tony comes out and I interview him at the Texas Open, and we get that 10-minute conversation about it. But it wasn't. Tony's always made no bones about it. Like, he wasn't just barking at Shane. Tony's always been open to go and playing Shane. Shane was the one that never really wanted any part of it. And I don't think that's changed any. I think it's hard to go and deny the money they're going to go and make, and the type of money they can go and make if they win that matchup as well.
There you have it, folks, from an insider. So why do you say Shane and Federer is never going to happen? Because of Team Q-Tech?
Yeah, they're not going to play each other.
No, I think at some point they play each other. At some point, the fans are going to demand it, especially in a rotation game.
I don't see it happening. I'll put it like that. and I'm not saying it just from sitting on the couch. You know, I don't I don't think
I'll
that
bet you a steak dinner it happens in the next 5 years.
5 years,
Yeah, it's going to be an
5 years.
in-demand matchup, and you know what? They're professionals, so they can be friends, they can be teammates for Q Tech, and they can match up. That can happen. Why not?
I don't see it happening. Not as far. Not
All right, we got a steak
I
dinner on it. You already owe me five
five.
five
Yeah,
steak dinner.
people don't know he ain't even paid up from his fantasy draft bet. That I still got to
Because
go
you
and collect.
cheated.
I'm gonna see you. I'm gonna.
That
I
was a
cheated.
lot of fun. Why didn't we do that for the international?
Why don't you let me know why we didn't do that for the international? Why don't you
I
let these 100 people that are here watching know why we didn't do it for the international?
was busy that night.
You fell
Anyway,
asleep.
yeah, I'm curious if anybody followed from what did we do it for the U.S. Open? Curious if anybody enjoyed kind of tracking our progress on that. It was funny because a few of the players actually would message Melina, not me, but hey, how did I do for you? Or you know, did I score you some points? It was kind of a fun little matchup.
I
Nick
loved it,
DeLeon, Nick DeLeon with his Texas Roadhouse. When are you going to tell that guy that Texas Roadhouse is garbage? Okay,
dude. Listen, I've never seen someone eat so many rolls and
that was unbelievable. That
at
was
the at the
tell
Texas
the story,
Roadhouse.
Mike. Tell the story.
The dude literally ordered like 7 baskets of free rolls, and then they asked him what he wanted for dinner, and he was like, "No, I'm good." And then what was his name? Jameson offered to
Yeah,
pick up the check, and then all
very
of a
nice.
sudden, very nice guy. All of a sudden, Nick got real hungry again. The Nick, and once he found out somebody else was paying, it was one of the best meals of my life, by the way, just because of that experience.
It was hilarious. And then what else was it? He kept getting the cinnamon butter, right? Was it cinnamon butter?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
ran out. They ran out
Well,
of it. They're
oh
like,
yeah,
"Yeah, we gotta whip some
literally,
more."
she said we gotta go whip up some for, for Nick. We
Oh my
always have a
god.
good time.
Oh man. Yeah, and
No,
that's the second time that you and I had dinner in Austin or Round Rock.
well, that was the first
Uh,
time we met was me, you, and
with
Nick
Nick.
going out to dinner.
That's
I
right.
think we went to Outback though, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, some one of those
Yeah,
terrible steakhouses. All right, what else we got to talk about, Mike? Anything else?
nothing. I just want to ask you, man, what do you think about Jeremy's picks from or the guys that were maybe up for contention? The Billies, the Joshes, the Shanes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's the short list, right? I'm sure there was a little longer list.
There's a lot of
Um,
people thought that we saw the Greg Hogue train. We had the privilege of interviewing Greg, and it was a phenomenal interview, by the way.
yeah,
Tons of people watched it. Greg, for his honesty and for his play. After we had him on, and you were there, and he says, he's thanking us. Real humble guy, real nice. Thanking us for having us on. Well, like I told him, it was his play that brought him on, and I still get messages about that interview.
me
You
too.
know, hey man,
Yeah,
thanks for doing that, and that was a great one. And it's like Greg did that.
yeah,
We
he
just
was
have
very
we
emotional. It kind of
yeah
reminded me of what's that movie, Jerry Maguire, when Cuba Gooding's character is like, "You're not gonna make me cry," and
yeah
just cries.
yeah.
He just wore his heart on his sleeve, and he just opened up, and and obviously in the picture there we have um, Chris Reinhold, who and Nick DeLeon. They recently played each other in Arizona. It was kind of interesting over the last week and a half or so. You had some of these players kind of putting their own you know, notes out like, "Hey, I played this guy and I beat him, so I should be in contention," kind of thing. But look, everybody wants a shot at this, and Jeremy left with one pick. He had a tough job to do, and I think he went with his heart, and he went with who he thought he was going to get the job done. But that's thinking.
I don't think he went with his heart. I think Jeremy's a big enough fan of sports and takes it responsibly enough to know that I think he really feels like he went with the guy who gives him the best chance to win. I
Well,
really
that's right.
believe it.
Okay, let me say with his gut, not his heart. But
Yeah.
like he went with his gut feeling that, like you said, that was his best chance to win. I agree with that. And if you look at it, all of these players that you see in the picture there, uh, if you take their top gear is it going to match Earl Strickland's top gear? If Earl can find that magic, I don't think so.
But is Earl in his top gear?
I mean, even at this age, Earl's top gear is probably going to be higher than each of these guys' top gear. And that's not taking anything away from them. And they've worked hard. I got a lot of respect for these guys all year long, going to these events, grinding it out, working hard on their game. But the fact of the matter is, we're talking about Earl Strickland. And when Earl Strickland look, you can watch him even now pocketing balls. I mean, the guy is an absolute machine. And when he's feeling right and he's clicking on all cylinders, I think his upside is higher than these guys right now.
I think his intangibles paired with how good he's hitting the ball is what makes him the best pick. And that's what I said the other day as well. That was something. The intangibles is something you can't go and argue with when it comes to Earl, because he doesn't just, as much as he's a liability mentally, to crack, he can also get in the other team's head as well. And he's going to be in their head before they even walk out. Nobody wants to play and lose to that guy. I said it to start the show. I'll say it again. Nobody on that team wants to lose to him. They're going to try to rattle him, and Jason's going to be at the head of that parade, and rightfully so. But Earl can still play great pool.
Yeah, when I look at the – sorry.
No, I was going to say if I'd love for anyone to knock the guy's game who saw him play some matches at the International. It's easy to talk about him after not seeing him for the whole year, but talk about him if you've seen what he did at the International, because it was about his play.
Yeah, I think out of those hopefuls that we have up, I think the only one really that has that kind of gear when they're playing, when they're in stroke, is probably Billy. But, Billy just hasn't been there this year. He hasn't had that run where he's playing exceptional pool. And I'm a huge Billy fan. I'd like to see him get back to that, and hopefully he will next year. And he'll be a fixture on this team for years to come. But, I kind of look at the rest of the guys. They still have something to do. They still have something to prove to kind of get there. They're great players. And I think the future's bright. But it's going to take a little bit more seasoning, a little bit more time for some of these guys to kind of break in there.
Yeah, adversity will go and reveal character, right? I mean, it's a cliche, but it holds true, in so many aspects of life. And there's been plenty of guys who have been shorted more than there's been Shane Van Bonings who have been on the team for whatever it's been, like 14 consecutive years or whatever it is. There's plenty of other guys who have felt shorted by the process. Yeah, I don't know how to really answer that question except for stating the obvious. Is Bergman still playing pool? Okay, I'll put is he playing pool outside of St. Louis? Because if he's not playing pool outside of St. Louis, then there's no point in having that conversation. Now, if he's willing to play pool outside of St. Louis or Missouri, then okay, it's fair. He's always going to be part of the conversation. He's got probably the sickest cue ball out of 99.9% of people on earth.
Yeah. And, somebody brought up the point earlier today that anytime the Mosconi Cup's in the United States, Bergman should just be on the team, knowing that, he's not big into traveling and stuff and he kind of stays close to home. But when it's in the U.S., he should just be a foregone conclusion. He's going to be on the team. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Don't hurt yourself.
No, I mean, I don't want to just answer emotionally. I think it's fair. You can't argue how great he plays pool, but like the same argument we had with Earl before this week, if Bergman were to go and play 3 rounds of a tournament or 4 rounds of a tournament, yeah, put him on. He's got chemistry. The guys trust him. They know that he can deliver. He can come with big shots. He's very well seasoned. There's not a lot of things you can say negatively about Justin Bergman's game, but is he playing the game?
Let's get him on the show and ask him. Let's get him on the show and see if we can try to get into his head and understand kind of why he's not doing that. He's not out there competing, and see if we can kind of motivate him and kind of light a fire under him, get him to some of these events next year.
Well, your Facebook Messenger work, or I'm just saying.
Hey, you line them up. I ask the questions.
No, yeah, I know. I'm always the one who's the sucker who goes in there and tries to get everybody on. I'd love to get them on.
Look, we've had 20 people in this chat mention Justin Bergman, and that's
you can't argue how great he plays pool. Nobody can go and have an argument against how he plays pool. It's if he's playing pool, though.
I think he's playing. I think he's back playing. I've been hearing about it.
From who? Where?
I got sources. Can't reveal them. No, I hear he's playing again. And, the point is, like, if he wasn't playing, could he play for 3 weeks and be ready? I think he could.
I'm not going to argue that because I can't. I was Oscar was talking about guys he'd go and gamble with, and he made a post earlier, kind of a little bit on tilt from, the
why was he on tilt? I saw that,
so to speak. Actually, we're going to have Oscar on tomorrow, and you're invited, by the way, and you're invited. Here's your formal invite into
the interview. Guess what, Mike? You didn't talk to me about this, and I'm on a flight tomorrow night. Thank you.
Are you? What time?
I don't know.
That's when the interview is, unfortunately. No, but Oscar will say there's an open invitation for Americans not named Justin Bergman or SVB to go and play a set of 10 ball.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, and he's been honest about it. He's got a lot of respect. Everybody. Oh, I mean, just probably the Railbirds online, but everybody knows and respect Justin Bergman's game. You cannot go and argue with how he hits the ball, his experience, his chemistry with Sky and Shane. He checks off a lot of boxes, but if he's not going and playing any, then how can he be a part of the conversation?
Well, yeah. I'm starting a campaign for next year to get Justin back out and in consideration for Moscone.
What are you going to name it? Because it wouldn't be free Justin Bergman, because I don't think he's,
Yeah, I don't
know. Wake up. Come on.
Let's Justin go, Bergman. Justin. Let's go, Justin.
Reach out to him. Get him on the show.
Yeah, we should. Don't you know some people at the Players Club?
I do.
Well,
I'm just trying to get you to do something. I'm trying to get you to do something around here besides be a pretty face.
I got the good looks. Okay.
Oh, that you do, buddy.
All right. Well, I think we better wrap. We're at 1 hour and 2 minutes. Had a whole bunch of people in here. Thanks for all the comments, guys. We tried our best to interact with you. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned. Apparently, Mike's got some shows lined up this week that he just told me about. So it should be a lot of fun this week.
Oscar, maybe we can get Josh Roberts. Maybe. We'll see.
Let's do it. Yeah, make sure you find a time I'm on an airplane, and then schedule the show.
Send me your travel schedule. We'll see you guys later.
All right.